This is Sean. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we are going to be discussing when, as a private security officer or as a private investigator, are you able to draw your firearm from the holster? When are you able to unholster that firearm? Before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to one of our subscribers, Dominic. Dominic recently reached out to me and showed me a city ID. Now, this is at a large city. I'm not going to disclose what city it is, but it's a very large city. It's a government ID, and on there says contractor. Dominic has been assigned private security to protect a firehouse. And on that lot where that firehouse is located, there's also a law enforcement agency stationed. Some of you might be wondering, Sean, why does a firehouse need to be protected by security if you have a law enforcement agency? Guys, the reason for that is most law enforcement agencies out there, they don't have a deputy or officer that's assigned to patrol their own parking lot, to patrol their own station, believe it or not. Most of the time, the deputies or officers, they're out on patrol. They're not actually patrolling their own station. You might have an officer that's assigned to the station. Usually that officer has been injured. That officer is on some timeout status. And many times that officer is a ranking member of the department, maybe a lieutenant, maybe an administrative sergeant, a detective sergeant, a captain, a commander, or a chief, and they're usually not patrolling their own parking lot or their own station, and that's why security is needed at these types of facilities. I also want to mention that for these security companies to send Dominic out there, it just shows you how qualified Dominic is, because these security companies, they're not going to send their worst guys to these government accounts. They're going to send their best guy, the most squared away guy, to these types of government accounts. They're high visible. There's always that chance that you might have that First Amendment auditor that walks in there and who shows disrespect, or even that shows respect, and then you have this security officer who doesn't know how to interact with First Amendment auditors or the public. So generally, the best security officers get assigned to these properties. Not all the time, but many times. Dominic also wants to thank this channel. He's been watching the videos. He's been reading the comments. And guys, the videos that I create, I don't even want to say I create. You guys make the suggestions in the comments. You guys email me. You send me DMs on Instagram on the content that you want. So Dominic's thank you is not just to me, it's to everybody as well. Now, I don't know if Dominic, if this was a promotion within his own security department, or he interviewed for this position for a separate security company. I will tell you that a lot of the content that we discuss will help give you it'll help you answer in a more intelligent fashion a lot of these interview questions that are being posed out there, because you have a lot more substance, you have a lot more content that come from these channels and that come from the briefing. So let's congratulate Dominic for this promotion. He showed me a picture of his city ID. He's very proud of it, and I'm proud of him as well. It's a city of blank. I'm not going to disclose the agency, but it's a city of blank. It's official ID, and it says on there security contractor, which is awesome. So congratulations to Dominic. Okay, guys, let's talk about when you can unholster your firearm, when can you draw your firearm as a security officer, and also as a private investigator. So I'm located in California. I don't put out there that I'm an attorney, because I'm not. This is not legal advice, it's not professional advice. But I do have a better understanding of California law than any other law. Okay? Make sure that you guys do your due diligence, though. Make sure that you seek out professional help through an attorney. This is not, I want to make clear, this is not legal advice. I don't want to get you guys in trouble for depending on this content and engaging in actions based on the video. That's not going to happen, you guys. Okay, promise me that. So I've taught the BSIS, the Bureau of Security Investigative Services Firearms Permit course. It's a 2-day course. BSIS is the regulatory arm for private security professionals, private investigator professionals in the state of California. In that long manual that they have, they talk about when you can use a firearm, but they don't give you specific examples, which is kind of a bummer, but they're just basically reducing liability on their part because they don't want to restrict your actions to just what's in the manual. And they do cite a couple of penal code sections. And basically, they're telling us that we can only use a firearm that's used as in USE if your life is in danger, somebody else's life in danger, and that threat is imminent. It's about to happen. That's the only time that you can use deadly force. That's the only time that you can use a firearm. Now, keep in mind that the penal code mentions using. Okay, you're using a deadly weapon, using a firearm. When you think about the word use, I don't know about you guys, but I think about using the firearm as in pulling the trigger against a human being, a threat, right? You normally don't think about using it in the context of drawing the firearm, and that's not really using it. So, for example, if somebody says, "Hey, Sean, there's this neighbor that's been giving me problems. I want to use your gun against that person." That usually doesn't mean that you're gonna just draw and exhibit that firearm in a rude and threatening manner in front of that neighbor. It usually means that you're gonna probably pull that trigger. So that's what the penal code refers to when they mention the word use. There's also a California penal code called 417. That's drawing or exhibiting a firearm or other deadly weapon in a rude and threatening manner. Because 417 penal code was created, okay, they're telling you that there's a huge difference between using a firearm and just exhibiting the firearm. Okay, so that's the whole distinction. When can you use a firearm? So in security, there's accounts where you have to provide alarm response, burglary alarm response. I worked in Orange County where we had to respond to alarms. The law enforcement agencies around the area would not respond unless there was a responsible party en route. And most of the time, there wasn't a responsible party en route. If it was a false alarm, in many occasions, then the homeowner or the business would get a huge fine. So a lot of these businesses felt like it was cheaper just to hire a security company to respond to these alarms. Maybe a one-time response would be $100. You weighed $100 versus a fine or a fee, a service fee through the sheriff's department or police agency of $200. I mean, you got to do a cost-benefit analysis there, which, what do you choose? So many times these business owners would choose to have a security company provide alarm response. Some of you might be out there saying, well, we're security. We're here to observe and report. We shouldn't respond to alarms. Then don't sign up for these types of assignments. These type of assignments are reserved for the hands-on security companies. Okay, you are expected to respond to these alarms, and many times you are expected to conduct your own building searches. Okay, and this is the thing: if you don't do a building search and the sheriff's or the police department has to search, and it's a false alarm, that company is going to be fined, and they don't want the fine. That's why they hire security. They believe security is going to do the building search for them. And again, if your argument is, well, we're not trained to do building searches, don't sign up. Don't get hired for these types of assignments, you guys. You don't. There's so many other things that you could do. Then yeah, if you didn't sign up for it, then in other circumstances, just call a law enforcement agency if there's signs of forced entry or a door is unsecured. So for these unsecured doors, or if there's signs of forced entry, I personally would not go there without a partner. A lot of police agencies, if they have partners, they don't go in there without a partner. Okay, so you want to go in there with a partner, and you want to have that firearm drawn. That is my suggestion to you. Obviously, you get to pick. But California Penal Code 417 allows you to draw that firearm in a rude and threatening manner. And why is that? Because the key word is self-defense. You're able to draw that firearm in self-defense. You also have to keep in mind that that property, that business that's unsecured, that is your property because you're an agent of the property. Depending on how the contract is spelled out, though. It's like you're the business owner and you're checking on your own property. So that's the right that you have to be there, to check on the doors, to go inside and look for any signs of intrusion. That's your property at that moment. And the safest way to do it is have your gun drawn. I wouldn't even have it in the holster. You're going to have somebody that's going to run up to you. You're going to lose time. Those of you who haven't worked in a low light environment, you're going to have an especially long delayed if you don't have that firearm holstered. Okay. You don't have to have it up like this. You can have it at the low ready if you like. But my recommendation is to have it out. If you've never been trained on building search techniques, I also highly recommend that you ask a supervisor, you ask the security company owner if you can get some close quarter combat training. Because, you know, if you're entering through a door like this, you know, you have your gun out, okay, you're coming out like this, you don't know how to do a building search properly, the suspect is going to grab that gun away from you and use it. That's why I think that only properly trained armed personnel should be conducting building searches. Otherwise, you're endangering yourself and you're endangering your employees. I also want you to be able to articulate to the police, if you have to, why you felt the need to draw your firearm. And that's when you're going to have to explain with California Penal Code 417 or whatever penal code you're using in your state that allows you to draw your firearm in a rude or threatening manner in self-defense. And you have to explain that as a security officer, your agency is contracted with a property owner. Your agency is an agent of the owner. And you have the same rights of inspection, of examination as the property owner. The property owner has every right to inspect the premises for signs of intrusion, to look for that burglar. And so do you. The police, they don't go inside of these burglary intrusion alarm areas, guys, with their guns holstered. Right outside the door, okay, when I respond to a burglary alarm, whether it be law enforcement or security, my gun is drawn before I enter through this door. And if you are a law enforcement officer listening to this video, doesn't matter if you have 1 year on or 30 years on, your gun should be out right before you enter this door. Because the threat doesn't just happen inside all the time. The threat can happen while you're waiting. Just imagine, okay, you're a police officer on this side of the door, waiting to go in, and this guy just opens the door and fires. You're not going to be ready because your gun's going to be holstered. Okay, so the gun should be already out of the holster before you get in. And that's where security officers feel a little bit uncomfortable having their gun out like that. They feel like sometimes it shouldn't be drawn because it's out in the public. No. You have to be at least able to justify. And my question to law enforcement, if they're bothering you about having your gun drawn, is, do you guys have your gun drawn right before you enter? And if not, why not? Okay, why not? Show them this video. I doubt that they're going to watch that because they don't want to hear the truth. But show them. Try to attempt to show them that video. And I will prove them wrong. They're absolutely wrong if they're not going to draw their firearm right outside. Guys, I also want you to use common sense. If this is a daytime business, this is day hours, and people are working, I mean, clearly you could see from the outside that they're on the computers. Do you really need to come inside with your gun drawn? Because I normally don't. I don't feel the need to do that. You got to use your common sense. If it's closed for business, that's a different story. Okay, you have a really good chance of flagging somebody with your firearm if you go inside during the normal business hours when everybody's around. You also might get robbery intrusion alarms. Those alarms are usually reserved for law enforcement. Since my combined time of law enforcement and security, those alarms are almost all the time false, but you got to treat them as real alarms every single time. When I go into a bank, it just depends on the atmosphere, the environment. So right before I go in, I look to see what everybody's behavior is like. Are they just standing still? Are they staring at something? Or are they going on with their business? They're cashing their checks. They're talking to the clerk. If everything looks normal, I will go in there with my gun, with the holster unsnapped or the lever down, with my hand on the grip of the gun, and just walk around the facility like this. And just look around like this. Hey, everything good? You guys good? And just get ready. Because from right here, my support hand is already in a position to take control over the firearm if I need to. From here, I can go to here, here, here. Okay, so I have it about right here. Now look around. Sometimes I do have it out. It just depends on the circumstances, you guys. If I get a call at a bank and I see like 2 or 3 customers out and I don't see any employees out, then yes, my gun will be drawn. So please use common sense. You don't have to draw your gun at every single burglary alarm call, every intrusion alarm call, every robbery alarm call. Please just use your common sense. That's all I have. Hopefully this helps. Take care.